Today, we're diving into a really fascinating molecule. It's one that some researchers believe could be a key to actually rewinding our biological clock. It's called epithalon.
It's pretty much the biggest question in aging science, right? Can we really turn back the clock on a cellular level? Well, a little peptide called epithalon might just hold a piece of the answer. So let's dig in and see what the science actually says.
So what exactly is epithalon? It's a tiny peptide, we're talking just 4 amino acids long, that was originally discovered in the pineal gland. But its small size, it hides some seriously incredible potential. Research has shown that it can switch on a key anti-aging enzyme called telomerase, protect our DNA, and even extend the lifespan of lab animals.
First up, let's pop the hood and see what's going on inside. How does this thing actually work on a biological level?
Its power doesn't come from just one single trick. Nope. Instead, it works through 4 different but totally complementary pillars of action. We're talking about repairing our DNA's protective caps, resetting how our genes actually get expressed, tuning up our body's internal clock, and boosting our natural antioxidant defenses.
Okay, this first pillar is probably its most famous claim to fame. The best way to think about telomeres is like the little plastic tips on your shoelaces. They stop your chromosomes from fraying. The problem is, every time a cell divides, they get a little bit shorter. Well, epithalon has been shown to activate telomerase, which is the enzyme that rebuilds these caps. It essentially delays a key part of what makes our cells get old.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We're moving from the cell's hardware to its software. See, epithalon doesn't just protect DNA. It actually influences how your genes are read. It's almost like a software update for your cells, telling them to run younger, more efficient programs by subtly changing the very structure of your chromatid.
Next up, let's talk about the body's master clock. Remember how I said epithalon was first found in the pineal gland? Well, that's where we make melatonin, so it's probably no surprise that studies show it actually boosts melatonin production. And what does that do? It helps normalize our sleep and metabolism, which, as you know, can get pretty messed up as we get older. And this final pillar is like a crucial support system. Instead of just adding external antioxidants from food or supplements, epithalon tells your body to make more of its own. This creates this really robust internal shield against the daily grind of oxidative damage that helps drive the aging process.
So that all sounds great in theory, right? It's a powerful idea. But what does the actual scientific evidence have to say? Let's look at the key research that takes these concepts from the lab and actually tests them in living things.
The evidence for epithalon isn't some brand new thing. It's actually been building for decades. The story really kicks off with a landmark study back in 2003 that showed it could activate telomerase in human cells. Then, through the 2000s, a bunch of studies showed it could actually increase lifespan in animals. And now, very recently, Marin labs are confirming these older findings with brand new 21st century technology.
And in those animal studies, they saw consistent lifespan increases across different species. Now, a 10 to 15% increase might not sound that dramatic at first, but for a mouse, that's the biological equivalent of adding almost a decade to a human life. Now, that is significant. Okay, so it works in the lab and it works in animals. That's pretty compelling. But what could this all actually mean for human health? Let's explore the real-world applications and what the promise is here.
Because epithalon targets such basic fundamental aging processes, its potential uses are incredibly broad. Just think about it. Better DNA repair and better sleep could lead to direct longevity therapy, sure, but also things like improved skin health and even a more resilient immune system as we get older.
So, here's the billion-dollar question. Do we see any of this translating to people? While we don't have those huge, large-scale clinical trials just yet, the early signals from smaller reports are really encouraging. They show exactly what you'd expect based on how it works: normalized melatonin, better sleep, and positive shifts in key health biomarkers in older adults.
Of course, anytime you're dealing with a powerful biological tool like this, you have to talk about safety. The main theoretical concern you'll hear is that activating telomerase could, potentially, promote cancer. But here's the thing, the actual data on epithalon just doesn't support that worry. Across the scientific literature, the studies consistently report that it's well tolerated. We're not seeing red flags.
All right, let's pull all of this together. What's the final, evidence-based takeaway on epithalon's promise? What's the bottom line?
So, why do so many researchers find the case for epithalon so compelling? Well, it really boils down to 3 key things.
First, you have what's called convergent biology. All four of its mechanisms work together towards the same anti-aging goal. Second, you see these positive signals across multiple species. And third, modern science is now validating what those older studies found, which just boosts our confidence in the results.
And all of that leads to a pretty powerful and, I'd say, optimistic conclusion. Given its unique ability to target multiple core drivers of aging, from our telomeres to our circadian rhythm, the science really does suggest that Epithalon is a genuinely promising candidate for directly influencing how our cells grow old. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. The science of aging is moving out of pure theory and into real-world application. So, if you had a tool that could target these core biological engines, what would you prioritize? Better sleep, sharper thinking, more energy? It's a question we might all be asking ourselves a lot sooner than we think.